The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Thanks for waking up with us. It is 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
This morning, there are thousands of families here in Kern County grieving the loss of a loved one to COVID-19. And it is especially difficult as we hit another grim milestone in this pandemic. Kern Public Health announced yesterday that more than 2,000 people have now died from COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic, when it swept into Kern in early 2020. 17 new deaths were reported yesterday. That brings our death toll to 2,005 lives lost to the virus. Important to note here that most of the new deaths reported yesterday actually happened in late 2021. We also learned of another 1,700 new cases, keeping our average to about 2,000 people getting infected every day. 324 people are being treated in the hospital. 47 more are fighting for their lives in the ICU.
Your time now is 5:04. The CDC says the Omicron variant is now dominating COVID-19 cases across the country, accounting for 99.9% of all COVID-19 infections. That's according to a new cases recorded in the U.S. last week. The Delta variant is now accounting for just 0.1% of cases. CDC data also says that case numbers nationwide are down from a peak, and hospitalizations have also started declining. The California Department of Public Health, meantime, has now confirmed 11 cases of the new Omicron subvariant in California.
Now in our continuing coverage of fentanyl here in Kern County, and a candlelight vigil was held last night in honor of those who lost their lives to the deadly drug. The organization Be Finally Free hosted the Light a Candle for a Loved One event at the Park at Riverwalk in Southwest Bakersfield. Those who came out lit a candle in remembrance of those struggling with addiction and for those who have died due to the drugs or alcohol.
We have a lot of people within our county who have had severe issues with drugs, and so there's families here. There was a funeral here earlier for a young man who died from fentanyl, and so there's just been so much death and so much addiction.
During a fentanyl forum last week, District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer said there were more than 200 deaths from fentanyl in Kern County last year alone. And for comprehensive reporting on the fentanyl crisis, including Robert Price's in-depth series called Fentanyl, the Counterfeit Killer, you can visit our website, kget.com/fentanyl.
In your 17 Crime Watch now to the search for a suspected killer and the arrest of another man accused of shooting 3 people, including an unborn baby. The incidents bring to light the downside of a controversial state law, where many convicted felons are allowed back on the streets before their full sentences are served. 17th Moses Small reports.
Bakersfield police were called to the Plaza Motel on Union Avenue Thursday morning at about 2 for a report of a shooting. When they arrived, they found a man and a pregnant woman suffering from gunshot wounds.
Both victims were transported to an area hospital where they are expected to survive their injuries, including the unborn child. The investigation identified a suspect, Brian Sewell, 41, of Bakersfield. He was located and taken into custody with no incident for charges associated with the shooting of the 2 individuals.
This wasn't Sewell's first arrest. Police say Sewell was previously released for other crimes under Assembly Bill 109, the Public Safety Realignment Act. Meanwhile, police are also looking for this man, 24-year-old Alberto Noriega. He's wanted for shooting a man to death on Coventry Drive in South Bakersfield on January 9th. Police say it all goes back to AB 109.
And it's a piece of legislation that the voters passed that allows you to be eligible for early release.
Former Governor Jerry Brown signed the bill into law in 2011 after the Supreme Court said California's overcrowded prisons exposed prisoners to cruel and unusual punishment, violating the 8th Amendment.
There are certain sexual assault charges, certain aggravated assault charges that all fall under someone's ability to still be released early as a nonviolent offender.
Instead of going to state prison, people convicted of those crimes are sent to county jail, supervised release, or a combination of the two. Sergeant Pear says nearly a quarter of people arrested for homicides last year were released early under AB 109.
That is an entirely preventable number.
Bakersfield police arrested 36-year-old Jason Rodriguez Wednesday for sexual assault. Rodriguez was also previously released under Assembly Bill 109. Moses Small, 17 News.
An hours-long standoff in Lamont forced a nearby elementary school to go on lockdown yesterday. It happened just after 8 o'clock in the morning near Lamont Elementary School. The sheriff's office says deputies responded to reports of a man threatening drivers in the area with a crowbar. When they arrived, that man had shut himself in a nearby shipping container. Around 10:30 in the morning, deputies made entry and the man was taken into custody. The school lockdown was lifted shortly after.
We're saddened to report this morning a teenage boy who was hit by a vehicle while walking in East Bakersfield has died of his injuries. Law enforcement is still looking for the driver involved in the deadly crash. 16-year-old Angel Baruman was hit by a car Tuesday morning as he crossed Niles Street at Brentwood Drive. He was taken to the hospital, but last night his mother told 17 News he was declared dead. The mother tells us the family plans to donate his organs for transplant. Meantime, the CHP is still looking for the driver of a red vehicle who fled the scene after striking Baruman. If you have any information, you're asked to call CHP at this number, 396-6600.
Standing together, Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer and President Biden made it official. Justice Breyer will retire at the end of his term. President Biden saying he will be sticking to his campaign promise to nominate the first black woman to the high court.
NBC's Bree Jackson's in Washington with a look at the confirmation fight ahead and the possible impact on midterms.
Good morning, Alex, Maddie. President Biden says he's already reviewing possible Supreme Court nominees. Now, his selection could help shape the court for years to come, but could also help score political points.
And it's a kind of miracle when you sit there and see all those people in front of you.
The process of replacing Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer is officially underway.
Person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications, character, experience, and integrity. And that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court.
On the president's shortlist, federal appellate court judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who graduated from Harvard and clerked for Justice Breyer. California Supreme Court Justice Leandra Kruger, who argued several cases before the High Court, and J. Michelle Childs, a federal judge from South Carolina. Supporters hope the president delivers on a key campaign promise, energizing voters.
Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. Well, you just can't say it. You got to show it.
With midterms on the horizon, Republicans argue the nomination is an effort to shift attention away from the president's stalled agenda.
The American people are all concerned with inflation and crime and COVID.
Senate Democrats vow to move fast with the confirmation process.
That means we're not going to sit around. We're not going to sit on our hands.
Republicans are in no rush.
I'm going to give the president's nominee, whoever that may be, a fair look.
President Biden says he'll work with both parties and the vice president to fill the vacant seat with what will be an historic choice. President Biden says he'll make his decision about a Supreme Court pick by the end of February. Confirmation hearings could start as soon as March. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson, 17 News.
5:35 is their time now, and members of the California Democratic Party are threatening to pull the party's endorsement from lawmakers who reject a proposal to establish a single-payer health care system here in California. The warning comes ahead of an important election year and just days before the bill faces a key vote in the Assembly next week. State lawmakers in the Assembly are set to vote on Monday on that health care proposal, also known as CalCare or AB 1400. The proposal would eliminate private health insurance and create a state-run healthcare system in the state. The vote on CalCare comes as the party's pre-endorsement process begins February 5th.
And any assembly member that thinks they can ignore the party, ignore labor, ignore people, vote against us, and then still get the endorsement might find that they have a tougher re-election battle ahead of them than they thought.
In order to be endorsed by the Democratic Party, delegates in each district have to be in a strong agreement about a candidate. Progressive caucus leaders warn they have more than 40% of delegates willing to not endorse a candidate who rejects CalCare.
Senator Alex Padilla, along with other state officials, announcing an historic campaign against big tobacco. The campaign's attempting to ban the sale of flavored products, which they say appeal to children. These products include mint, menthol, and the original candy-flavored cigarettes. Senator Padilla's efforts also include changing A grade given to the products from the American Lung Association. In its 20th annual State of Tobacco Control report, California got an incomplete for ending the sale of all flavored tobacco products. Officials say that's due to the referendum petition filed against SB 793, which was designed to restrict such sales.
If saving lives isn't enough of an incentive to give blood, maybe money will convince you to donate. And that's exactly what one state lawmaker is proposing as he introduces a bill in Sacramento that would provide a $500 tax credit if you donate blood at least 4 times in a calendar year. The legislation would reportedly ease the current blood crisis in California and around the nation. Earlier this month, the American Red Cross announced it was facing its worst blood shortage in more than a decade. The organization supplies about 40% of the country's blood supply, but has only been able to meet 1/4 of the need.
Looking ahead to this weekend, county supervisors will be giving an update on a multitude of issues faced by our community, including ongoing progress on construction projects, public safety, and responses to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. You can catch the State of the County address right here on TV 17 this Saturday at 7 p.m. You can also watch it at kget.com.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.